Okay, great. So on to the last discussion of the day. It's actually, I'm going to stick around for a bit. It's myself and Maisie Bullock there. If you could possibly turn your camera on. We're going to have a chat, aren't we, Maisie,
Yeah,
about carbon neutral and sustainability. And all these words are all different things, which obviously we're going to hopefully sort out what they mean today. But yeah, thank you for being with me and helping me out on this subject.
awesome. It's good to be on here.
Fabulous. What I'll do is, so to let everybody know here today, Maisie and I are going to be having a discussion. We're not doing a presentation. We're not showing any slides or anything like that at the moment. That may come later down the line. But actually, the title of this, Can Pest Management Be Carbon Neutral? I think it's an important subject for the industry to talk about, environmental planning and sustainability. Again, these words all have their different meaning, which we'll talk about in a moment, but getting to that net zero and thinking about the things we do, whether it's day to day or whether it's a yearly planning, we really need to. And as a pest control industry, BPCA wants to work on being able to give tools, give advice, give guidance to not just our members but the whole industry on how we can become more responsible in terms of the things that we do, and considering that side of becoming carbon neutral. Now, I have zero experience in this subject. I've been researching it a bit over the last 6, 7, 8 months for to be able to work on a project for BPCA to be able to support its members. But Macy, you have particular expertise in the area. If you can just, again, there's nothing to tell about me. I have no experience other than research and then speaking to people like yourself and getting your help. But what's your background? What's your experience with the subject?
Yeah, so I did an undergraduate degree in geography, and then I did a postgraduate degree in environmental future sustainable systems. And I'm currently on a placement funded by Glasgow Chamber of Commerce, who put me in Pest Solutions, which is a company, or I'm based in Glasgow, and I'm working with them to kind of action plan that helps them achieve their waste management, net zero, and circular ambitions. I've only been in this role 5 weeks, and this is my first adult job after uni, so
Yeah.
I'm quite new to both the working world and the pest control industry.
Indeed. Well, we've thrown you in at the deep end, haven't you, with the pest controls? But as you can see, they're all very friendly and very nice, and always like the subjects we talk about. And this is definitely a new one for everybody here. So I think there will be, because how we're going to do this, we're going to do like a Q&A section. And I think a lot of the questions that you've come up with and I've come up with are those questions that people are always thinking about. We don't necessarily know the answers to them. So again, I appreciate you being with us here today. So yeah, just a shout out to everybody here listening. BPCA, we will be sharing some more information and support on what we want to do going forward. But for now, as I said, let's get some Q&As going. So I've got a load of questions here for Macy. Hopefully, I'm not going to be throwing her in the deep end at all. Perhaps a little bit. But the first one that I think would have that people think about is why should the pest control industry reduce its environmental impact? You know, in comparison to other industries, it's quite a small sector. With the difference we make really would be worth the associated time, effort, money.
Well, I guess while the pest control industry is relatively small compared to other sectors, in the effort to mitigate climate change, I guess everybody will be required to play their role in doing what they can to help avoid devastating environmental consequences. So
Mm-hmm.
there are several reasons why the pest control should strive to reduce its impact. So we have regulatory compliance. So the UK government has set a target to decarbonise all sectors of the economy and meet net zero by 2050. So by proactively reducing your carbon emissions to meet this targets, you are ensuring compliance with future regulation and avoiding any fallouts from failing to do so. Then you also have corporate social responsibility. So as public awareness of environmental issues grow, I know if you watch the news, it's pretty much everywhere now. Consumers and stakeholders increasingly expect businesses to demonstrate corporate social responsibility and sustainability in their operations. And finally, environmental and public health protections. So considering the pest control industry it is to do with environmental and human health. If you're not doing anything to protect that in the future, you're kind of failing to do what you first set out to do. So I guess, yeah, while the industry may be small, anything that you can do that will have a positive impact on reducing your environmental footprint will be significant and far-reaching.
Yeah, great. So is there any legislation right now that's that's making, you know, maybe industries like ours that we have to start complying? Is it, or is it just more of a broad spectrum?
Well, I know for larger organisations, they do have things in place that they have to show that they've done, but currently for smaller businesses, I don't think there is anything in place, but that's not to say that there will be in the future.
Yeah, like you say, it's certainly going that way, and the evidence is there that, yeah, it will be. So, and what we like to do, you know, the BPCA and other organisations we work with, we always want to try and get ahead of the curve, really, before, you know, we don't want to get to a point where, oh blimey, we've got to, you know, do something about this in a couple of years. Whereas actually, if we start working on something now, it's gonna be more beneficial for everybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
Great. So the question then, so how do you navigate the challenge of balancing pest control efficacy with sustainable practices? So making sure, you know, we're doing the pest control we need to do, but also being sustainable about it.
Yeah, well, this can be a complex challenge. However, there are some strategies in place or that the industry can adopt that will help navigate this balance. So we have prioritized green pest control products. So you can choose eco-friendly and low toxicity pest control products that have a minimal environmental impact. This also has the dual benefit where if you're purchasing these kind of products from pest control suppliers, then you know other companies that aren't offering these environmentally friendly products will see that you're not using their products anymore because they're not complying with maybe future regulations, and then they'll think, oh gosh, maybe I'll start supplying or producing these greener products. So then you have the capabilities to shape a wider industry. However, at the same time, you do need to do your research. Just because a product says it's greener doesn't mean it's always the best option. Say if you have a greener option that'll need loads of call outs or need loads of applications, or you know there is one less eco-friendly product that'll only require one call out and one application, then maybe that would be a better product to use. And then also you need to invest time and effort into training high quality pest controllers. This should ensure staff are well trained to minimize resource usage and energy consumption. And then you can also consider your carbon footprint beyond what you're doing out in the field. So there's some easy wins to be had in your home office, like changing your lights to LEDs, changing your waste provider. I know at Pest Solutions, we've just changed to ChangeWorks. So all of our office waste is now getting recycled rather than going to wherever Biffa takes it. I'm not quite sure. Also stay informed about emerging technologies. So as sustainability is becoming more of a prominent issue, there'll also be like technological innovations, which you'll see maybe products that are greener become more efficient than they are currently. And then also educate and engage stakeholders. So raise awareness among clients, employees, and industry stakeholders about the importance of reducing carbon emissions in pest control operations, and then also encouraging collaboration, knowledge sharing, and the adoption of sustainable practices across these bodies.
Great. I think, and that's it, thinking about the things that you know, the people listening here can do, that's, you know, the quick wins, and then the more longer term or medium term wins, really. And like you say, some of those quick ones are, I mean, even things like route planning, isn't it? Being able to, you know, plan where you're going more efficiently and effectively to make sure you're using less fuel and things like that. That's quite a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess like if you're new to the field of sustainability and you're reading manuals, it can be overwhelming and there's lots of words that you don't know, but you know, everybody knows changing LEDs will save the planet. Obviously, you know, it might do a little bit, but yeah, there is easy wins that can be had without having like a wealth of expertise in the field.
That's it, yeah, not making it too much of a bigger task than maybe it needs to be right now, and actually, yeah, looking at those quicker wins and the smaller things that you can do actually that have a big impact. So yeah, we can talk about. I'll have a bit more information on that as time goes on. But I see I'm writing things down. Like I'm getting all these ideas from you as well. So it's fantastic. So another one, pest control companies know how to deal with pests, not issues of reducing their carbon footprint necessarily. So where can they find guidance outside of that provided by BPCA? Is there any other areas?
Yeah, so there's loads of sources of information out there. So environmental organizations such as the Environmental Protection Agency, Greenpeace, World Wildlife Fund, and the Sierra Club offer resource guides and tools to help businesses reduce their environmental impact. These are also and often not complicatedly worded, so they're easy to follow. And the one that I'm working on at the moment at Pest Solutions is the WWF has created an example questionnaire on how to audit existing and prospective suppliers on their sustainability claims. So I don't know if anybody has had an email off me, but I've sent emails out to, I even think I sent one out to Pelsis. So yeah, just stuff like that, really good information sources. So
Yeah.
then also government agencies at the national, regional, and local levels. So these often offer programs, incentives, and even financial support to businesses in reducing their carbon footprint and transitioning to more sustainable practices. Like I said before, I'm currently on a program that's funded by Glasgow Chamber of Commerce. I don't know, there probably is similar things offered in different parts of the UK. So those are things to look out for. And then there's also numerous online resources, tools and platforms that provide a range of different guidance and information. For example, in Scotland, we have Creative Carbon Scotland, Zero Waste Scotland, Business Energy Scotland. So there's just loads of information out there, and these are all really accessible to people that don't have a background in the field. And then the final kind of point would be hiring a sustainability consultant or environmental expert. I guess these would provide really accurate kind of help in this industry. However, you are looking at added costs, so it depends really if your company has the funds to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of what we want to be able to provide, certainly for members is possibly that I say external expertise. I want to say that lightly, but we'll adopt people like you and your expertise in terms of your knowledge and be able to put some information together and some I guess kind of gap analysis. I think that's a lot of it, isn't it? It's kind of a gap analysis that people need to do, and whether they go for someone external or they can come to us, or it's a discussion in a forum, maybe looking at what they do and deciding what other things they can do. It's yeah. I think that's it, isn't it? Gap analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a lot of what we certainly want to do, provide that guidance. So what future opportunities and challenges do you foresee in the pest control industry that is more sustainable?
Okay, well, I guess there's kind of several opportunities for the future. So you have market differentiation. So as the demand for sustainable pest control services increases, there is a potential for businesses that provide this kind of service to meet this demand. So investing in sustainable practices can lead to new revenue and opportunities for market expansion. Then we also have regulatory compliance. So although we touched on it before, I don't really think there's anything in place yet. In the future, I can see there being this regulatory compliance in place, especially as it's becoming more and more of an issue. So then companies or pest control companies that comply with this future regulation, will obviously be placed in a better position. So then you have innovation and research. So again, a shift towards a more sustainable future will drive innovation in greener technologies that might not be the most cost effective now, which is always a great thing. and it could also make them more efficient. And then possibly higher job satisfaction. So knowing that you're doing something that's contributing to a global cause, I would hope would make somebody maybe a bit more satisfied in their job.
Yeah.
I can't remember if you mentioned challenges, but I'll cover them as well.
Yeah.
So we have initial investment. So obviously transitioning to sustainable pest control practices will come possibly with a significant initial investment in equipment, training and certifications. And then also you need to ensure staff are properly trained. That can be time consuming and costly, and you may not even know what you need to train staff in. I know a big kind of issue at the moment in the industry is you don't even kind of know where to start. That's a big one. But hopefully as time goes by and you understand where the issues lie, then maybe proper training can be given. And you'll also need to educate customers on the benefits of choosing more environmentally friendly products that aren't maybe the most cost effective. And then incorporating new technologies and methodologies into companies can be challenging in terms of integration and implementation.
I think saying the technologies, you mentioned it a couple of times, and I know in our industry we're actually in a very say quick transition. It seems to have been, I say, been quick. We've used paper for a long time, doing treatment reports. I think you might have seen them working with Pest Solutions that they, possibly did beforehand. A lot of people still do, but there's a lot of technology out there now for electronic reporting, doing the paperwork that we leave with customers in an electronic format. And I think this is actually one big benefit to that. It's not just the ease of it for the pest controller and also the customer and receiving it and the record keeping and so on and so forth, but actually in terms of carbon neutral and being responsible, it's a good tick in that box, isn't it, using electronic data?
Well, I was actually at a tender the other day, I don't think I can say who with, and they were saying how they we're at Pest Solutions, we're pushing now for being paperless, having electronic reports, and they said in their tender that they would prefer paper files. So again, I guess that kind of touches on the challenge that you kind of need to educate clients that no, actually, the way forward that we're paving is we do want to put all that behind us that's having a bad impact on the planet. So I thought that was really interesting to see it in person.
See it there. That's it. And I still get the members saying, that, well, Natalie, most customers are good with it, but some just want paper still, or maybe they don't have access to the technology that, even emails, some generations or various people with learning difficulties, sometimes they don't necessarily interact with these systems. There might always be that little need for paper, but that's still not a reason to necessarily implement or utilize it. And I think those that already have utilized and implemented that electronic reporting side of things, because some people here might be going, oh, I've already done that, that's a tick in my box already, but actually, are you promoting it as a, how would you promote it? Would you promote it as an environment again? I'm thinking how this, Natalie's pest control, if I was using electronic reporting and I wanted to sort of say, well, actually, I'm being responsible to the environment. How would I market that? What would I call it? Sustainable, or I don't know.
I don't know, because it obviously falls in a load of places.
It does.
Not creating any waste. There's less waste.
You
probably don't need a printer.
That's it. Cartridges and things like that.
The carbon from cutting down trees, traveling to and from a site to update a file. It's massive. It's more than just stopping paper.
Just by doing that one thing, cutting that paper is doing many ticks in the boxes. So again, they're kind of like quick wins and easy things people can do. Actually, they're not that expensive. I mean, again, I talk to many members, and monthly or quarterly costs for electronic reporting, it varies. It might, I say, £10, but all the way up to a couple of hundred if people would, depend on what system they want. But I think it is particularly economically viable a lot more now than it used to be. So yeah, that's a pretty exciting one, actually, I think, because a lot of people already have done it or are thinking about it. And yeah, maybe it's a good push to, not just do it, but tell your customers about it and the reason you're doing it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I went off on a bit of a tangent then. I got a bit excited, so I do that. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I didn't interrupt you then, did I?
No, that was
No.
me finished on that question.
Okay, fabulous. I wasn't I do that. So yeah, certainly and education, that was the other thing I just wanted to, as you mentioned them, to comment on, because I think it's useful for everyone to think about it, is maybe the culture side of things, where you mentioned like sort of training and things like that. But yeah, it's creating a culture that's not necessarily just a work culture, but also a personal culture. Getting people to actually care about, what they do, not in just their work time, but their personal time as well. I mean, I know I certainly, if it's plastic bags or bottles, you reuse, or you get tin bottles that you fill up with water rather than buying plastic bottles, and shampoo bars rather than liquids in bottles, and all these sort of things that actually maybe on a personal level people can work towards as well, but through company support and education. I think that's
Yeah,
something that,
you can cascade change throughout the nation just from a couple of hours of teaching somebody about
yeah.
sustainability at work.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. So another question I had, just because it was, again, I think something we all get confused about, but what is meant by net zero?
Yeah, this is a really interesting one, and a lot of when I'm talking to like people in the office or my friends, they get definitions mixed up, but they do mean very different things. So I
Hmm.
guess when I kind of define net zero, I should also define carbon neutral, and you will see carbon neutral on a lot of, I guess, products you purchase, but actually doesn't mean as good as what you think it means. So yeah, to kind of like define carbon neutral, it's referring to both reducing and offsetting the emissions that your company produces. So say if your company produces 100 tons of carbon, but you've purchased 100 tons worth of carbon credits, then you can call yourself carbon neutral. So you don't
Hmm.
actually need to reduce any emissions at all. You just have to offset these emissions. So to give two examples, in the UK, we have the Woodland Carbon Code and the Peatland Carbon Code, and these are two government-backed carbon credit providers
Yeah,
that allow you to buy 1 ton of carbon, which represents 1 carbon credit. So this is, imagine a big company who produces loads of emissions, but they have the funds to buy some trees somewhere in the UK or wherever, then they've not actually really done much. They've only purchased that land to say they're carbon neutral. They've not reduced any emissions.
yeah.
And then there's also kind of issues with carbon credits, mainly abroad. Are these carbon credits legitimate? Is there anybody making sure the forests aren't, being plagued by disease, which will stop them from taking in carbon? So there's a whole kind of, there's a lot to think about with carbon credits and whether they're actually just greenwashing.
Yeah,
But then to become net zero, your company needs to both reduce and offset its emissions. So you can see with this, compared to being carbon neutral, you have to reduce your emissions as much as you can.
yeah,
So I guess you could say it's less of a greenwash. So I would say if you're at your supermarket tonight or tomorrow, just have a look at, the products that you're buying, are they saying the carbon neutral? Because then you should think, is it just greenwashing?
yeah, yeah. That's it. Like you say, it's that offset thing. It's understandable. It's good that that's there to use to a degree, but actually it shouldn't be the whole thing. It shouldn't be, yeah, there should be a genuine, attempt to offset that. I think as well with the net zero, I think a term busting, like putting something on our website and being able to explain, what these different terms mean, so people can, go back to them. Because again, I think it's really important that we all, start now looking at, what firstly what it all means, educating ourselves on it more, so then when it comes to actually implementing things that are going to help a business, it's going to be useful. And
Yeah, I think that would be great to have on the website,
yeah,
having definitions clearly defined, because you want to be open to customers about the service that you're providing, but you also want to know, are your products that you're purchasing, what's the difference between them being carbon neutral and net zero. So having a full comprehension of what these different terms means it will be really effective
Yeah.
in goal.
Yeah, lots to do there. So I've got one more question then, and then I'll see if there's any other ones that are coming from anybody else. But so in terms of regulatory, can't say that, I'm struggling with words today. Regulatory compliance, will it be a legal requirement that all businesses in the UK have to hit net zero or have a plan in place?
So as of now in the UK, there are no legal requirements for all businesses to hit net zero or have a specific plan in place to reduce emissions. However, as I mentioned before, the UK government has set a target for 2050 to be
Yeah,
net zero. And there are some existing regulations and initiatives in place to encourage businesses to reduce their carbon footprint, but I don't think they're currently applicable to pest solutions companies or smaller businesses.
mhm,
Because, for example, the UK government has introduced mandatory reporting requirements for larger businesses in the form of streamlined energy and carbon reporting framework. So I don't think this is applicable to us yet, but will it be in the future? Possibly. Additionally, there is various schemes and incentives available to businesses to support their efforts in transitioning to a lower carbon future,
yeah,
such as the climate change levy, renewable heat incentive, and carbon reduction commitment energy efficiency scheme. That is a long one. And like I said before, I'm obviously on a scheme. There might be schemes in everybody's local area provided by local governments. I can see that being a possibility. So, as the UK continues to ramp up its efforts to combat climate change, there may be stricter regulations introduced that will require companies within the pest control industry to comply with this net zero target by 2050. But as of yet, no, there's not. But I do think getting in front of the game would be beneficial.
yeah. And
Or
like you
you're
said,
forced to.
yeah, your term market differentiate. Yeah, say it. Market
Market
differentiation.
differentiation.
Honestly, it's Friday. I need to put my teeth back in. But yeah, it's making, creating that gap between you and others, showing your, the responsibility you're taking in tenders, yeah, and things like that, and being able to tell them about what you're doing. And yeah, we're gonna BPCA again. We're gonna well, again. I'm taking a lot of notes here in terms of the things that we can do. And yeah, I know we've talked a lot before about it and what we can do as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to us working forward and creating some sort of me creating some guidance for the industry, heavily supported by people like yourself. I really appreciate it. I've got a couple of questions that are coming actually from people here. So Rebecca says, in London they use foot technicians. I remember I was a foot technician back in the day. Should they consider adopting this in other key cities if the work allows, or once legislation is passed, could the use of e-scooters be a good option? I mean, there's a few questions there. So do you know what a foot technician would mean?
I do, and to kind of answer the e-scooter one, at Pest Solutions, we're currently looking at using an e-bike to travel between clients. Although this would obviously only work in areas where sites are quite closely distributed. So
Yeah,
I don't know about other cities. Obviously, London, you could probably have a few blocks and your business is covered. In Glasgow, the West End would be fine. But and like I said, with local incentives, we do have a scheme in Glasgow where you can loan an e-bike for free for 2 weeks.
yeah.
So again, I think it's just, to do with maybe the distribution of clients.
Mhm.
But other than that, that's all I can say about the issue.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, like you said, with the e-scooters, keeping cars and vans out of big cities and lowering pollution. I mean, these are, yeah, absolutely, these are all the things that we can do. And like I said, yeah, we'll hopefully better put something down in writing and some proper guidance for everybody. But yeah, Rebecca, all the things you mentioned, e-scooters, foot technicians where you can, and keeping cars and vans out of big cities and keep to a minimum. Yeah, they're all good sort of start points and thinking points, aren't they? Um, so Gina, I know we've talked about waste before because it's a big part of the topic we're talking about. But Gina says, what would be the best way to promote recycling in the office? Wales is making recycling mandatory in a few weeks, and we could do with some ideas.
Well, we're currently the provider that we have, they've provided us with segregated waste bins. So you have to put your waste in certain bins, and then if it's mixed, then the company does get charged. I don't know. I don't want to say if this charge could then be placed on employees. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news or anything like that. But
Yeah.
I think that's the step that we've done, and we've also been very clear in educating staff members on the benefits of sustainability. I know everybody sees me coming around the office kind of shouting it from the rooftop, so everybody knows why we're recycling our waste. So, you know, education will again play a big part of stuff like that.
Great. Yeah, again, recycling going on my list. It's all this stuff. See, everyone here who's attending as well, they're not just you, but everyone's helping with all these ideas of the things we need to think about. So yeah, recycling, and that's great. Natasha's also, so is there centralized guidance on how to calculate your carbon emissions, what to include and how deep you go? And so for example, should you include how staff are traveling to and from work, or just while they're at work? But yeah, I'll stop there because it's a big bit.
There is some great guidance online, and I can put it in the question and answer box after my talk. But basically, your carbon emissions are split off into scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. And I won't butcher the definitions of each scope, but like scope 1 is your direct emissions that your business produces, then scope 3 is looking at the whole supply chain. So I know guidance currently is kind of saying prioritize scope 1 and scope 2, but I would recommend you don't have to have exact carbon measurements to begin to reduce. If you do like a basic audit and you understand that these are where big emissions are being released from, that doesn't stop you from reducing those emissions before you even have exact measurements. I know like guidelines online, I can't remember the acronym for it, but they're basically aimed at bigger companies that do have the expertise to quickly quantify carbon emissions and then reduce them. But if you're a small business and you don't have the expertise, then put in time and effort into quantifying this. For me, it's just a waste. You know where your carbon emissions are being released from, so begin to reduce them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Alex has mentioned about some recycling as well. So he said, we have heard of the carbon saving of swapping from flow tubes to LED. Are there any other procedural processes such as bait box choice, packaging, even marketing streams that you can recommend that people can do to start making some differences? I mean, I know you've only sort of been exposed to the pest control industry for 5 weeks. I'm not sure how much of those bits you've picked up, like bait boxes. I think you know about that and how the businesses work and some of those small differences.
I've noticed how many bait boxes do get thrown out, and it's really shocked me. I know what I've done is I created a sustainability procurement and supply questionnaire, and I sent that out to all of Pest Solutions suppliers, and we're currently having a look through answers now. And I know one of the actions that I'm going to take in the future is engaging with suppliers to see if there is any possibility in the future for them to kind of reduce reduce their waste and packaging and stuff. But for now, I wouldn't have a good answer for that question.
No, I mean, and that's what I think a lot of what will come out today is a lot of the guidance will be around that, you know, to what Alex asked there, you know, is it bait box choices, like what thing can we do day to day to affect that? So I'd say to any of our members out there, give us a call and we can have a chat about it, but there will be some more support coming soon. So yeah, good. I think they're all the questions I can see in there. So yeah, I mean, Maisie, thank you so much. I know you said you've been in the industry 5 weeks, but also out fresh from doing your university degree and into this with us. But I really appreciate it. You've done an amazing job, and
it's been a great opportunity. Thank you so much for having me.
No, that was great. So we'll get you face to face at a forum at some point. You'd enjoy that. I'm sure you definitely would. You get free bacon sandwiches and stuff as well. So, but no, thank you so much. And yeah, without further ado, thank you again, Maisie, and we'll catch up soon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks for those questions, everybody. Talking about carbon neutral and sustainability and environmental impacts and things, it's not always something that we discuss on these forums, but I think it's really important that we do think about it. And as I said, most people on here today, yeah, we're pretty interested in the subject and asked some really good questions. So I really appreciate all of that and everybody having respect for Maisie and I, and yeah, the conversation we just had about a really important subject. So yes, thank you for that. Any other questions you might have to any of the presenters? Just make sure, I'd say get them in the chat section, but we're going to be logging off in the moment. Hopefully Maisie will be able to, before we finish completely, just to stick any links in the chat section for the extra links to support websites, guidance on sustainability and gaining net zero, etc. That'd be great if you can put that in the chat section. If you do have any other questions, it's probably best to email, pop it over on technical@bpca.org.uk, and then we can, if I'm not sure of the answer for me and it's actually for one of our presenters, I'll get it over to them and be able to get that answered for you. So just the last few things from me. We haven't got Ian today. I'm just going to do a few little updates. It's more just as a reminder of things that are coming up. So I mentioned Pestex earlier. Just make sure you get your registrations in. The doors open at 9 AM in London, Excel. It is the largest Pestex we've ever had, with more exhibitors than we've ever had. So it's going to be particularly busy. Also, BPCA will be announcing new member benefits at Pestex, so be sure you come and find us on the stand. We've got quite a few exciting things coming up, and we'll also be running our annual member meeting and our awards. So it's going to be a really busy day, pretty action packed. Another reminder, PPC 114 is out now, so you can read that online. If you want a physical copy, just be sure to let us know, pop an email, register for it. Anybody that's on our affiliate scheme will be getting that, but just shout out if you're not getting a physical copy. We've another news as well. We've recently appointed 3 new board members after running member elections. We're thrilled to have Anna from Pestfix, Rebecca from Barricade, and Martin from Dealey join the board. I've seen that a few of them are on the forum today, so hello to you 3. And we'll be interviewing them at the next issue of PPC. So, but thanks again for all the members that got voted, and yeah, it was a great process. Just a couple of glue board updates for you, very brief. If you want to talk about it a little bit more, you can get in touch with the technical team, so either myself or just get to technical@bpca.org.uk if you wanted to pop it on an email. But in England, we're working closely with Natural England, who have been appointed to run the licensing scheme for professionals. They've pushed back the rollout date to July this year, so they have a little more time to get that licensing scheme right, and then it's really important that they do get it right. I've had quite a few questions recently about when that licensing is coming out, or what do pest controllers need to do right now? Can they get ahead of the game? But we really don't have the information exactly on what that license is going to be. But don't worry, it's not going to be a case of one day you can use them, one day you can't, and there's a long licensing process. We're there to support you to make sure that you're given the time to do what you need to do to use them when you need them, in line with the licensing and when that's released. And in Scotland, we're optimistic that we can get an amendment to the glue board ban that would see basically a licensing scheme in Scotland too. Ian, our CEO, has been working hard to find a cross-party solution and has been engaging with politicians on all sides, so that's ongoing. And as we know, obviously in Wales they have been banned, and Northern Ireland there are no plans for them to be addressed at all. And then finally, before we get off, I know that many of you have had questions about the crew stewardship changes. While we're sure BPCA members are more than ready for this change, we do share some of your concerns. Crew will be at Pestex answering your questions. If you can't make it, you can always ask a question on behalf. You can email us at hello@bpca.org.uk, and we'll make sure to clarify anything that's unclear. But if you do come down to Pestex, as I said, there'll be a crew stand there, and you can certainly have a chat with those guys. And girls, of course. So yes, without further ado, no other questions I can see for me. That brings us to the end of our forum and in the special International Women's Day. So thank you for everybody being here. I think we had 170, 180 odd participants. So again, thank you. And for all of our speakers as well, and Palsys for sponsoring today's event. Thank you very much everybody, and yeah, have an amazing day and an amazing weekend when it comes.